Hi, welcome. Yeah, so yeah, on data engineering, we are still on a level of creating tables, databases. Don't mind about the background sound. Hope won't really disturb you guys. So, so we are still on the level of creating databases, tables, relationship between different tables, and so in today's session, we're going to look at how to create, how to create, how to create tables, how to create a database, tables, um, attributes, table attributes, a relationship between different attributes and the data types. Which so yeah, that's the whole summary of what we're going to look at today. So I'll start by using draw. I'm going to sketch out what we're going to design. So so we're going to have four tables, which we shall look at as an example for our database design. Okay, I think, do I need one more? Yeah. So we're going to look at this is going to be an organizational database which puts employees in departments, and the employees are also they are profiled according to their skill set. So I'm going to start with the department table. Department. So we shall have a department table. We shall have employee table. We shall have let me see, we shall have skills, skill table, and we shall have employee skill table. So if I may arrange these ones right. Okay, so these tables are related to one another, which we're going to see. Okay, so after this I'm going to put it in we're going to create the actual tables actually, and the database. So we have got a single, if I may put something here, we have got a single database which is housing all this. So in the employee table, we have an employee. Let me start with the first. Let me start with this, the department table. Depart ID. Maybe could say department name. Do I need any other? Okay, let me go by that. Just delete this. The department, let me take up only the department name. Then the employee, I will have employee ID. Okay, employee ID. I'll have maybe first name, last name, and let me see, maybe email. Could also add another one, maybe phone number. We're going to look at different data types. That's why I'm actually adding more phone numbers. I'm adding a phone number so that we have a look at different data types. So the employee ID is going to be a primary key. Then these are going to be primary key. I'm talking about the relationship and the referencing between different tables. We shall have a look at that. So it has got a primary key there, and in the employee we have another column which is going to be department ID. So an employee has to belong to a department, So yeah, so this is going to be a foreign key. Yeah, so in the skills, we have got a skill ID. Skill, am I writing it? Skill ID. We have skill description, if I may. Skill description. Let me put description. Let me write it write it in short form. I delete this. I don't need to. So so an employee at the time of enrolling or becoming an employee in an organization, you have to have a skill set, so many skills which you bring on board. So these skills are going to be, we have a table which highlights so many skills. If I put it in maybe in programming, someone can have a skill in back end, front end, and other skills. So we shall look at how these are going to be done. So so in this employee skill, we have employee skill ID, which is going to be a primary key, and we are taking in the employee, which employee is tagged to this employee ID, and we have the skill ID. So I don't need this column. If I may delete this. All these are going to be foreign keys. So that's how the structure of our flow is going to be. So our tables are going to be like this. So now let me create a relationship between these tables so that you can easily identify which table belongs to what and which one connects to which one. So if I may say, an employee belongs to a department, and a department can have multiple employees. That's in cardinality, one to many, many to one. So within this relationship which we have, it's going to be one to many. A department can have multiple employees. So I need to look for, we shall have a look at this still in the as we create the actual relationships. So this is the department ID. It's going to be creating connecting to the foreign key in our employees table. So a department can appear so many times in an employee table. So then also an employee can have multiple skills. So this will be one employee. An employee can have multiple skills, so it will also be one to many. If I may copy this. So the employee ID, it's the one which I'm tagging on, connecting to our skill, direct to that. So an employee has got multiple skills. If I may also duplicate this, and an employee can also have multiple skills. So this is going to also be, one skill can be owned by multiple employees actually. Yeah, if I'm right. One skill can be owned by multiple employees. Have I done it right? I want it, okay, to be smart. So this is our flow. one skill, maybe let me create some small notes somewhere. I can say Java as a skill set, Python as one of the skills, or one of the programming. I can say maybe I can do front end instead of using front end as a skill, back end, and maybe also full stack development. So this could be the so if employee X belongs to a department, also create another thing for department. Could say maybe software development. Could say maybe dev department, and we have got employees, maybe Samson, James, and we have Peter as one of the employees which we shall be having in our employees table. So in the skill set, if it's Samson belongs to a dev department, and Samson has got skills. Maybe he's a back-end dev, back-end development. So this Samson can have multiple. Could also add maybe front-end dev. Call it dev. So you can see the one employee can have multiple skills, and one skill can belong to multiple employees. So this is what we're going to design, and let me now go to what in deploying, or if you want to have the database running on your PC, you need to have Docker, which I'm using to deploy MySQL. So we are using MySQL image, and I'll share this code in the description for this video. So I'm deploying so that we have our test environment and be able to create tables here and there. So I have got I've created the service, MySQL service, consuming MySQL image and a container name, MySQL server. So the default password for the root is password, and I've given it another user, and the command, this is just to avoid the authentication errors and issues, so that one shouldn't mind about that, and I've left it on port 3306. So after doing this, you do Docker Compose app, which I've already done. You do Docker Compose app in the same directory where you're hosting your Docker Compose file. After running and creating the containers and the volumes, you should be able to see this where it shows the container ID, image command created 8 seconds ago, and start status should be up, so meaning your container is really running right. And these ones, this is the default hosting IP, the 00, and its port. So we are going to use this very IP address to be able to connect to our MySQL, which is hosted by the Docker. So if I go to, so you guys make sure you have one of the prerequisites for this course. Let me create a small readme .md. So you have to have Docker installed, then also install DBeaver. DBeaver. So these they are both they can both run on both platforms, whether Microsoft, sorry, Windows or Linux or MacBook. So you should have this installed so that you really don't get left out. So yeah, I'll put this in the description and the links on where to install this. So so now let's continue. So if I open my DBeaver, I have got no connection. So but by default, after installing DBeaver, you're going to see such kind of screen. So you come to this this icon, new database connection, click that. So we have got multiple connections. You can, if you're connecting either to Postgres, Oracle, it all depends on what Docker container, your Docker image you're using. If you're using Postgres, meaning you select Postgres. If you're using SQLite, SQL Server, but since our deployment, it's running MySQL 8, so we shall go by 8. We shall go by MySQL. So after clicking this, it should be able to tell you to install a driver. Let me see if I have drivers for Postgres. I think they're already there. Let me come back here. Let me look for MySQL server. So after putting in, okay, let me first do MySQL. I'll show you what should. So if I go back there, go to MySQL. So remember on this page, we have the host server where the MySQL is hosted. If it's hosted on an IP address, maybe like this is a random IP address. Don't think, guys, don't think this is an existing server that is hosted somewhere. So I'm just giving it random. If it's that, you have the link to MySQL server, you can do that. But since our local hosted MySQL is hosted on 000.0, and our port, I've left it 3306. If you change, this was going to fail, so I'm going to leave it by default by like that. So within our setup, we don't have we didn't initiate a database, so we don't have a database anywhere. So we shall create a database, and the username for authentication is root. If you can, we can use the MySQL server. We can use the MySQL user, which we created on the fly when running, but I recommend to use the root. So go by the root. The username is root, then the password, our password is password. So after this, click test connection. So the connection has gone through. So at this step, this is where it's going to ask for a driver, a connection driver. So if you don't have the connection driver, allow it to bring a pop-up, allow it to install that connection driver, and you'll be good to go. So now we click finish. So now we are now completely in our let me delete this one. I just created it. So by default, if it's the first time, it will not have any databases. Sorry about I'd created that DB. I was doing something. So by default, it will come with a thing. This database. This is by default. Don't delete this. This is for handling some back-end features for the database. So don't delete that for MySQL. So this is created by the MySQL itself. So when you click on databases, right click on your mouse or the keypad and create your database. So the database we are going to create, maybe I can call it maybe Coders Hub. Coders Hub as an organization or the company that is going to host these that's where employees are going to be employed, and we're going to profile these very people. So so now I create I give it a name and leave this by default, and say okay. So when you do okay, our database is created, and we by default doesn't come with anything, whether the views or tables, the indexes, procedures, triggers, events. We shall have a look at all these one at a time. But for today, we're going to look at how to create tables, the data types, relationships, and so yeah. So now we're going to start by creating our first table, which is the department. So the department, so I go and right click again, create, I say create new table. So our table, will give it a department, yeah. So our table is going to be department. Okay, I love abbreviating, sorry. So we are creating a department name. Remember also, when you're creating table names, don't put capital letters. One of just create them in small letters, and also within the, also when designing or creating the columns, don't use capital letters. So now here on the side we have got columns, constraints, foreign keys, references, triggers, indexes, partitions, and so forth. So I go back to columns. So you have to click here on columns. Within here, this space, right click and go to create new column. So our first column, can see it's going to be depth ID, department ID. It's going to have a data type which is an integer. Can I talk about data types before I proceed? Let me put it. Let me go to my readme. Go to data types. In so we have got. Let me just first put. We have numbers. We have got numbers. We have double. We have strings. We have date. We have got boolean. Is that boolean? We have got which other? We have got also text. And which other thing am I missing out? Let me go back to. So all these are different data types. I'm not also float and enums. We have got float and enum. So numbers, these are going to be maybe 1 to up to endless. So the double, this is where we have got maybe something like money. Let's say money is taking in maybe 300k, which is takes in that. That's a double. And strings, maybe strings could be names, could be names, could be maybe gender. It could be just main text, whereby I can say maybe male, female, or I could say maybe James. Those are kind of strings, which in a database we call them variable characters. And here the date, of course, you know the date. You can say maybe 2026, that, yeah. So that's a name. That's a date. So there are different formats which dates can be captured, but most likely most dates are tend to be captured mostly like that in so then the booleans that we have got a true or false. False. Okay, so these are captured by 1 or a 2, sorry, by 0 or a 1, where you find do I have the right spelling for a boolean? Let me see. Where's the boolean? Where's the boolean? Where's the boolean? Can I find it? Where's the boolean? Blob, is that right? Okay, I'll come back to it later, then we see. Oh, come back to that later. So and we have got text. These are long texts, maybe a sentence can also be captured. Then the floats, maybe 1.0, 1.1, then the enum. So the enum is maybe I can say, let me use like marital status. Marital status has got option. This is more like a drop down, which we have maybe single as an option, married, and others. So this is if you really want to capture that kind of data, this is the data type you should go with. And so yeah, so let me go back and see how these data types are captured. So if I go back to our DBeaver, so our department is an integer. So these the numbers, the integers. So a department ID, it's going to be an incremental, because this you don't create it as a user. This is an incremental. Every time you create a department, this will be created automatically. So it's going to be 1 up to endless. So provided you have enough space on the server, this DB can run for 1,000 years, and so so now go to auto increment, because I really want our DB ID to increment from 1 up to endless. So this won't be required at the point of inserting a department, so that will be auto incremented. So here, remember, we said with our draw, we said this is going to be a primary key, meaning it's a unique identifier of each row in our department. We're going to see why it's a unique identifier for each row. So meaning if we have a department which is dev department, should be having one key and easily identify or differentiated from other departments by the ID number. So if I may go back, so here, remember, we want to give it's going to have a unique type, which is a primary key. The name, leave it by default, and so yeah, do create. So now our column has been created with an auto increment. So this means it has got an auto increment. It's not null, meaning by default, every time you created a department, this shouldn't be null. We have to have a department ID by default. So now I'm going to add another column, which is a department name. Remember, we talked about variable characters. They can be names or something. So yeah, so that the department name is going to be a variable character, and the length. So if I may talk about, let me copy this, bring it here. So the variable characters have got length. The length, what I mean by length, the size that is going to be supported by that column. So let's say we have got a name, maybe call it department, department of gender and resources. So if I want to limit, let's say I don't want to have a very long name, so I will limit the length. Maybe I can say 10. So meaning there's a high chance this name won't be captured as all because it's too long based on the length. So that's the purpose of the length of the variable character. So I'll go with 100 because most of department names sometimes can be long, sometimes can be short. So yeah, so let me go back here. I'll leave it 100, or I can make it maybe 90. So you can change that. So these other ones, we are not changing anything. And so if we can also make it, when you're creating a department, let it have not null. So make sure that the department name should be included. So if you don't include the department name at the point of inserting a department, it will alert you that you're missing out a certain part of the data. So I say now create. So now after creating, I go to save. Remember, if you don't click save, you lose your changes. So I click save. Here it will bring in our pop-up, which will tell us what's going to happen. So there are many different ways on how to create tables. You could create via the editor, which I will show on the next table, or you could create it like what we have done. If you want, if you really want to use an editor, you can also copy this and go to the editor and edit it from there, and so but for now I'll just basically run execute. So after running execute, you can see our if I go back to, so we have no data because this is a fresh created table. And if you go to the diagram, so here is going to, as your tables grow, the diagram is also going to expand and expand. So it's actually going to look like what we have here. So let's create more tables so that we can have a look at how our diagram is going to so when you create relationships with the foreign keys and this will be done automatically. You not have to connect these manually like what we did. So if I go back and right click on tables, so going now to create employees. Let me start with those which don't have foreign keys. Let me do skills, skill table. Create a column which we have skill description, leave it. Also it cannot be null. Do that. And we need also to create the skill ID. But it's recommended if you start, let me delete this. It's recommended to start with the primary key, which is the skill ID. Actually, I'd forgotten. It's an auto increment. It's a primary key. So by default, it's not going to be null. Save that and create another column, which is skill description, which is a variable character. And also not null, and save. So now after this, I also do I have any other? No, I think that's it. I also save this, execute. Incorrect column, skill ID, is that right? Yeah, I'd left it as a variable character, which is wrong. you need to make it as an integer. So when it's marked as a primary key, it can't be a variable character. So I had to switch to an integer. So save. So we have got our two tables created. So now we're going to create an employee and also employee skill table. So let me start with the employee table. Let me minimize this. Create employee table, create column employee ID, which is going to be an integer, and auto increment primary key, and create first name. Then one more thing, you can write attributes, table attributes as this, or you can also write it with an underscore. So it's totally up to you what you really want. So this is going to be a variable character. Save that. Last name. Also save that. So which other thing? Email. Email. So let me see if we have an data type for an email, or email we are capturing it as a variable character. So an email we don't have, so we shall capture it as a variable character. So I don't think an email can go to 100 characters. So let me do 50, its length. And remember, an email has to be unique, if you may remember. So employees cannot share the same email address. So I give it as a unique type, which is going to be this section. We're using it for primary key, but now has come a point where we shall use it. Select. It's going to be unique. So so one employee has to have one email address, and that email shouldn't be shared, and at least each employee should have an email address. So which other? Phone number. If I create phone number, so give it a length of 50. So unique, because I don't think employees really share phone numbers, and so yeah, it's unique. And so save that. Some employees, maybe they may not have phone numbers, so that's why I didn't give it null. Okay, let me see. Okay, let me just, it can be null, but when you give it unique, let it have a not null option. So, and now we're going to connect the department to the employee. So an employee should belong to a department. So now let's create another column, which are going to be dep ID, and this is an integer. Remember, it's auto increment of our primary key of the department. So we don't use on foreign keys, we don't use auto increment. So when you go, so this, you just leave it like that. Don't use auto increment and don't use not null. By default, we shall see where to add foreign keys to make it a foreign key. So I say okay. So this table is done, the attributes are done, which we want. So if I go to foreign keys, we had not used this. I right click, go to create foreign key. So when you say create foreign key, remember we are an employee table. So this is the table we are in, and it belongs to this database. So we want to refer to which table should we connect to. So when you select the table you want to connect to this, by default it's going to show the primary key of that table and referencing which column in this very table of hours. You're getting? So it will look at, okay, let me give an example. Let me create another just random, maybe you can call it test ID. I'm just giving, okay, let me give it an integer. Okay, if I go back to foreign keys, right click, create, and we want to connect to the department. So by default, okay, first select this. So by default, when you select a table, the referencing primary key is selected by default. You're getting? If you click employee, of course you can't connect again to the same table. That will be a weird relationship. So if you go to skill, the referencing, the primary key of skill ID of the skill table is the one which is going to be selected. So when you go here, so this is our actual employee table. So here it lists which column do I want to connect with the skill table. So if you say maybe test ID and say create, it will make a connection of our employee table to the skill table. But remember, we are not doing that. We are connecting to the department. So by default, it has selected for us the department ID, but you can change this maybe to a skill ID or to, but let's go by the department ID. So now I say, okay, remember I want to delete this column, which I just click it, right? Then right click, you select it actually, right click and delete that column, which I don't need. So it was for the test. So now here when you go to the constraints, so the constraints, these are unique identifiers in our table. So you should be able to have this. Remember the other section where we're selecting unique or primary. So this is where the constraints are coming in. Then the foreign keys, they are coming here. And let me see. So let me see the references. Let's first finish connecting, then we shall have a look at the references. So yeah, so that's it for the employee table. So we have created this as so I need to give it not null. Also remember, this shouldn't be null because an employee should belong to a department, so by default. So let's make it not null also. And yeah, I save. So if you copy this, remember I'd said if you're going to use the editor. So when you click save and open the editor, so here you can actually manually edit whatever you're looking at. Maybe phone number, let me give it 60. Can see. So the constraints, they are defined here. The foreign key constraint is also defined there. So you should be able to have this kind of code snippet and click here on run. Should execute the query. Let me see. Do I have an issue somewhere? Let me see. So yeah, it has, I don't know why it was acting up, but so yeah, it has created our so you should have this kind of response to be sure that your query has worked. So you can cross that, so if I go back here, if I go back here, go to our employee table and have a look at, let me open it. You see we have these columns and our constraints, we have them, and our foreign key. So if I go to the diagram, remember it, I said close this. Do I want persist? Yes. Remember I've used a different way of creating our table, so that's why it's hope. Let me see if I can save. Let me save our code snippet so it doesn't delete it. Okay, just say no. So yeah, it has deleted. I don't know why it was refusing. So let me just use the SQL editor so that we don't have that issue again. Paste here and run. Actually it has deleted our table because I didn't say it should persist. Really? Yeah, it has created it here. So I was worried that it had deleted. So we have our employee table. This is now the flow. I didn't create the like what we did here. I didn't create it manually, but you can see the relationship is being created. If you click on this table, this column, it shows that the department is connected to the employee table via the department ID foreign key in the employee table. So so now let's create the skills. Had I created the skills table? Yeah, so we have the skills table actually. I don't know why we don't have. Let me cut. Oh no. So we have the skills table. For it, it's not yet connected anywhere. If you go to the department, if you click employee, it shows how this employee table is connected to other tables. So now let me create one more last. We have got four tables. The last one is employee skill table, which should be the last table. So where is it? If I may come back here. So now I go to tables, create new table, and the table name, we have given it employee skill. Employee skill table. It has both columns actually, 3 columns, which is employee. It has to have a foreign key, primary key for itself. Employee skill ID. It's an auto increment, and it's a primary key. Create that, and we are connecting our employee to the skill. So we start with the employee ID as the. So this is going to be an integer, and so yeah, these ones you can leave them. Then we have got the skill ID. Remember, we have to connect to the skill which the employee possesses. Also give it an ID as a data type. Save. So we need to connect. This table and this table so that they communicate to each other. And so now I go to foreign keys. I right click, create foreign key. So our employee skill table, we want to connect it to. Let me first do. We want to connect it as employee table. So it's, you see, it's going to. It goes to our table, employee skill table. It has selected our employee ID, and our foreign table or foreign key, which is the primary key for the employee table, is this, which is referencing that. This is the primary key for the employee table. Say create, and we also want to connect it to a skill. So now it has already selected for us the skill ID, and also press OK. So if I go to our diagram, the diagram hasn't formed because we haven't saved this. Come back to our columns. So I don't need this to be null. I want at least each employee should have a skill ID, and the skill ID should belong to an employee. So I'm making them not null. So I do save, execute. Okay, incorrect column, employee skill. Okay, I always forget this to make it an integer. So the primary key should be an integer. So yeah. So now if I go, I refresh, I click on our database, refresh. So if I go to the employee table, I go to diagram, you see this, our relationship has come out. Employee table, an employee belongs to a department, and an employee has got a skill. You're getting? So now if I come to our skill table, a skill belongs to an employee. I don't know whether it makes sense. So this is how the mapping is generally done. Let me see if it has got an option of bringing out the whole, let me view diagram. So this is the diagram, our 4 tables. So yeah, this is really interesting, you know. So this is how our 4 tables are connected to each other. The employee belongs to a department, and an employee has got a skill set, multiple skills which he belongs to, and a skill also belongs to an employee skill. So yeah, this is actually, if I may arrange it like what we have department employee. Let me change this. I want to, of course you can't disconnect from here. I just want to move it around so that we have a look at how this has been created for us. Remember, we created this manually, and so the DBeaver is showing us the relationship. Let's try to click here. So you see, it shows the foreign keys, how these two are communicating, and so yeah, this is wonderful, and I want to make it smart. I don't know, because this is longer. So yeah, I'll move it as all. So yeah, that's how things are done. If I may also highlight for you, like what we did. Remember when I would click, I would show you that this is connecting to this is connecting to that. So if I may click on this, meaning this department ID is coming, this department ID is coming from here, and the skill ID is coming from here, and employee ID is coming from there. So yeah, so that's it for this video. We have looked at, if I may summarize, we have looked at the flow, the relationships, looked at how to create a database, looked at how to create tables and the table attributes. We looked at the foreign keys. We looked at the data types. Also looked at what else? I think that's it. So now in the next coming video, because this video has been longer, In the next video, we're going to insert the data and see how these relationships are coming in. So yeah, guys, wait for the next video. It's coming in a few. I should be able to have insert the data in our tables and see how this data is going by our flow. So guys, thank you very much. Thanks for watching. See you again.